Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar about Naviate Road. We have a guest today. We have Eric here who's going to talk about our Naviate Road. But before he starts, I'm going to show you just a couple of things that we that usually get questions about during the presentation. So I just want to let you know everything about our Naviate we can find on our naviate.com. We are sort of reorganizing a little bit on this one, so we're changing a little bit different things, but you can always find everything here. If we go under resources, you can, for instance, find release news inside here. We can also find webinars and news and stuff like that. You can also find I was going to say a help desk. There we go. Naviate help desk, where you can find sort of most common questions. So that's a good place to start searching if it's something specific for Naviate, or if you want to know how to install or how the licenses work and sort of general information about Naviate, you can always find in the Naviate help desk. A change though is that previously we had downloads here. We don't have any downloads anymore. The downloads are now moved to my Symetri. So my.symetri.com is where you can log in. And inside here, you can also see your licenses. So if you are managing licenses for your company, then you can find them here. But under applications on the right side here, or top right side here, you will find all the applications that you have a license for. So from my point of view, I have a license for all these, and I can then find my download version over here. So I select my Autodesk version first, the version for your Civil 3D, and then the version for your Naviate. And then you can download from this page. So we move them over here so you can always find your applications. And if you have other applications from Symetri, you can find them as well. So you'll find your Naviate for Revit, Sovelia, CQI, and other Symetri licenses that we have as well. All of our recordings, this webinar is recorded. And all of our recordings you can find on youtube.com/@naviate. Here you'll find everything that we record from all our different Naviate products. If you go to playlists, or as I have it spellistor because I have it in Swedish, you will find a playlist for our Naviate. We have feature of the week, which is one thing, but we also have Naviate for Civil 3D webinars. So here we have all our different webinars that we've done for at least the last 2-3 years back that you can find here. And you can always sort of go back and take a look at them if you want to. So this webinar that we're looking at right now will also be uploaded here, and that usually takes about a week for the process to begin. So today we're going to talk about Naviate Road, and that is why I have my colleague Eric here. So I'm going to hand over to Eric.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Eric, and I'm a consultant at Symetri, focusing on road design. In this session, we will walk you through a set of simple but powerful workflows you can use in your daily work. The theme of today's webinar is back to basics. By that, we mean taking a step back and revisiting the fundamental tools and processes that helps you move efficiently from a vertical and horizontal baseline to a corridor ready for export. Today I'm working in Civil 3D 2025 together with a beta version of Naviate. A few features you'll see today are not yet released, and I'll point them out as we go. The first thing I want to do when I have my baseline ready is to import an assembly and create a corridor. Here I have a basic vertical baseline and a horizontal baseline. The thing that I'm missing to build my corridor is an assembly. Here I have a pre-made assembly that we're going to use today. But first I want to connect to my project inside Civil 3D. I will do this by using our project tool. It's a very simple but effective way to connect your data shortcuts without having to find them in the folder structure. Our projects tool remembers every data shortcut you have been connected to and present them in a simple UI with the ability to switch between them. So let's go ahead and click on the project. I get this window and I take my webinar project. As you can see by the green marking, I am now connected to that data shortcut structure. I want to click on assembly folder. This will create a folder within the project that you will be able to publish your assemblies to. So let's click here. I get this prompt and I click OK. So let's click OK. Let's go over to Naviate Road. Naviate comes with a lot of pre-made sub-assemblies. All of these are tailored for the Swedish market. They are highly customizable, allowing you to change every point, link, and shape code to suit your project and country's need. We have, for example, a lot of curbstone sub-assemblies. We have different daylight sub-assemblies. And different type of lanes and much more for every type of project. If you want to add a sub-assembly, you simply click on Insert and put them into your assembly. We also provide a library of pre-made assemblies built using our own sub-assemblies, created over the years and available for you to use. With Import Assembly, you can build your own assembly library for your project, your team, or your personal workflow. To do that, you will first need to learn how to publish an assembly. Let's go ahead and click on the Export and Publish Assembly. I select my assembly. I select Publish to Folder. And as we can see, it gives me version number 1 and revision number 1. We can double check the path, so it actually is in the folder we created earlier, and we click Publish. Let's go ahead and save this one and go over to the road drawing. Let's connect this to the same project and click OK. Let's go to Import Assembly. And this time, instead of going to the standard folder with the pre-made assemblies I showed you before, I now select my project folder. And as you can see, our assembly is now visible in here. I select my assembly and I click Import. Let's put it in a good place and let's click Close. Let's change style to something more pleasing, like this. We now have all we need to build our corridor, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's select our alignment, our profile, and our assembly, and target it to a surface. Let's click OK. And let's click OK. Our assembly tool enables you to verify either manually or automatically if the assembly you have inside your drawing is the latest one or not. So let's go ahead and try that. Naviate Road, and we click Verify Inserted Assembly. As you can see, we have the latest one, But let's do some changes. So let's go over to the assembly again, and let's change the width. Let's publish this one again. Select the assembly, publish the folder, and as you can see, it automatically updates it to version number 2. So let's go ahead and publish that. The file already exists. Do you want to override it? Yes. Let's save and go over to our road drawing. Let's verify again, and now we get prompted that there is an update and we should update the assembly. So let's go ahead and click update. Here you can also check verify assembly version when drawing opens to make sure you don't miss an update. Let's click update. Inside our projects folder, the changed assembly is now highlighted. We can see what changed, so we click on it and we click update. We close it and let's do a rebuild. We now have a corridor and we can move on to the next step. The second thing I want to do is some surface management, file management, and corridor management. Let's start with our surface. We have a tool that's called Style by Surface. That tool lets you update all styles associated with a selected surface in one place. Instead of adjusting styles property by property, you manage them through a single property set. So let's go ahead and click Style by Surface. As you can see, we now see the surface within the drawing. We click Add and Edit Property Settings, and we get prompted by this window. Here you can see we have 7 settings we can change. I'm going to focus on surface style and profile style, since that is what I can see here. So let's change surface style to contours background and profile style to existing ground and click OK. I click OK, and as you can see, the style changed on both places. This is a very powerful tool if you have a lot of profiles and a lot of section views. The next thing I would like to do is to hide some objects in my drawing. Our tool Objects On Off allows you to toggle Civil 3D objects with a single click. It temporarily moves objects to hidden layers or styles, helping you focus on what matters without relying on isolate commands. So let's go ahead and click on Objects On Off. I would like to hide my profile view and also my assembly. This one is only in the beta, so you guys do not have the possibility to do this at the moment. As you can see, the assembly and profile view is now gone, and I can focus on my corridor. The final step, management-wise, is to change the settings on my corridor. Our tool, Corridor Settings, helps you maintain consistency across corridors in a file or project. You can apply standardized settings such as frequencies or surface creation using a template. So let's go over to Naviate Road. Corridor Settings. Select our corridor, and we get prompted by this window. You can either pick a corridor within the drawing and apply the settings from that one, or you pick a corridor from a template. So let's go ahead and pick a template that I created myself and click open. You will get the template when you get Naviate, but you can create your own. Here I can select the corridor within the template. I only have one. I would like to add frequency. The frequency in the template corridor is 20 meters, so it's the standard one that Civil applies. However, I can add stations from alignment interval, and I would like to add one each 5 meters. I also want to create surfaces, so a corridor top and a corridor datum. Let's click OK. As you can see, I get my surfaces created with one click. Let's go ahead and hide those surfaces. As you can see, they are not visible in objects on off. So let's refresh and wait a second, and they now appear. So let's close those. If we click on the corridor and change to section, you can see I have the frequency I set with corridor settings. Third and final thing to do, we are now ready to create the things we need to have an export ready corridor. So let's start with some line objects. Export corridor is our tool, and it enables you to export line objects from a corridor as either feature lines, alignments, or 3D polylines. Let's select our corridor. Let's select the lines I would like to export. I would like to export my shoulder lines, my road edge lines, and my daylight lines. I do not have any regions in this corridor, so let's uncheck this one. I also can uncheck the translation file. This file makes it possible, if you make it fitting your assembly, to create left or right specific layers, even if the point code is the same. Let's go ahead and click on DWG. This will put the exported lines in this drawing. I would like to have feature lines, and I would like them to be dynamic. As you can see, we have the possibility to add a prefix or suffix to the layers, putting the line objects in the standard you need. For this to work, you have to prepare the codes in the assembly first, which I have not, so I will not do this. Let's click OK. Let's hide our corridor to see our line objects. So I go into Objects on off, and I hide my corridor. We can now see our line objects, and it's time to add some slope patterns. Slope patterns creates clean, perpendicular, uniform slope lines between selected geometry. Whether from corridors or polylines, these lines are 3D polylines, so you can copy them directly into your export file. This is one of our oldest and most trusted tools, and last year we gave it some improvements by adding the possibility to pick a frequency line to get that uniform result along a corridor. And it now also has automatic cut fill direction detection based on the lines you pick. So let's go ahead and create some slope patterns. It asks us to select a from line. So I pick my shoulder line and I pick my daylight line. And now it asks a frequency line. And in this case, I would like my alignment since that's the smoothest line on my corridor. Here I can set perpendicular to my frequency line, and I can change the layer to a daylight fill since I selected from line and to line towards the daylight. I'll name this one fill right and click preview. As you can see, we only get slope patterns on some parts of the corridor. This is because our tool understands that our selected to line is higher than our selected from line. So if I click OK here, the tool gives us the possibility to here do the reverse slope patterns for the places where we are in cut. So I click yes. I'll name this cut right. And I also change the layer. And I click OK. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So let's click slope pattern, select our from line, to line, and frequency line. Change back the layer to fill. And in this case, OK. Yes. As you can see, they are perpendicular to each other, no matter what side we are on. So the full lines are perpendicular to each other, and the half lines are perpendicular to each other, giving us that clean finish. Let's go ahead and save. Our slope patterns are what we call Naviate objects. They are not visible anywhere in the prospector. That's why we have our Naviate Explorer. Naviate Explorer is our version of the prospector, presenting Naviate objects in a familiar, structured way similar to Civil 3D's prospector. Here you can select, delete, and edit all the objects you create with our tools. Let's add some labels. Our tool Add Feature Line Label Group helps you add labels to feature lines at a defined interval and remove labels outside that interval. It also automatically adds the final label you normally place manually. So let's go over to Naviate Road and click on the Add Feature Line Label Groups. Let's name this one Label Left, because these labels are going to be placed on the left side of my selected feature lines. So for the majority of the labels, I want feature line elevation left, and for my last label, I want feature line elevation left end. I want them to take the interval from my alignment, and I want the frequency to be 20. Worth noticing that the frequency must exist within the corridor. We have a frequency set to 5. That means we can place labels on 5, 10, 15. Yeah, you get the point. So let's go ahead and pick 20 and select our feature line. And click OK. Let's do a label on the right side. So let's do the same tool again. This time naming it label right. Let's take feature line elevation right and feature line elevation right end, and same settings as before, but this time we select the other road edge. And we click OK. As you can see, we have the frequency we wanted, and we have no labels on places we don't want them. I would like to add some labels on my alignment as well. We have a similar tool called Add Alignment Label Groups. It helps you to add labels to alignments with, for example, elevation labels from profile. And since this road is crowned, I will use this tool to apply those labels. The visual styles you will see now comes from the beta version. I get this window. I name this profile label. I select my alignment. I select stations from alignment. And I select my NV profile elevation. The reference text should be my profile, and the frequency should be 20. Let's click OK. The labels we now created are also part of our Naviate objects. So let's go over to our Naviate Explorer and let's refresh and take a look at where they are. Here we have our alignment profile, alignment labels and our feature line labels. Now we have created the objects we want. Let's take a look at the lines, slope patterns, and labels in 3D. Let's hide the surface, and we can hide the alignment. Let's turn on our alignment again and save for safety. Everything you see here is now dynamic, meaning if you decide to change your baseline, feature lines, slope patterns, and labels are all dynamic. So let's give that a shot. We move our alignment and we rebuild our corridor. The feature line updates. Let's put this at a nice ending as well. So let's put it here. Build. Our slope patterns are now on the wrong place. You can either go to Naviate and update slope pattern and select them. I, however, will do this through my Naviate Explorer. So I go here, I right click on slope patterns and I click update all. As you can see, since we changed the baseline, our labels got some new frequency lines to take into account, meaning the labels are not doing what they're supposed to do anymore. So we can change this by going into Edit and rebuild them with the same settings. So we do that for the label left, and we do that for the label right. And last, our labels for the alignment. We do the same thing. We go into Edit, tell it to build it exactly as we did with our settings, and we click OK. And as you can see, everything is now in the correct place. And that wraps it up. A clean corridor with dynamic, export-ready objects created through a simple step-by-step workflow. My name is Eric, and this has been Back to Basics. I'm happy to take any questions. If not, thank you for joining.
We actually got one question about the update, but you answered it so beautifully in the end. So about updating from the corridor. I can add that as Eric showed now, we have update with when you do slope patterns from a corridor, they need to update. If you do slope patterns for other feature lines, which works the same functionality, but in that case, you can actually have the slope patterns be dynamic. But for corridors, you need to run an update for them. So that was the only thing that I wanted to add. Thank you, Eric. Then we got a question right in the end. Why not do the slope patterns in the corridor? Do you want to take that one, Eric?
Yeah, for sure. Our feeling is that the slope patterns from corridor aren't very good when it comes to a lot of regions. The risk is that it gets a bit choppy. It doesn't get the clean perpendicular view and look when you have created them. And also you cannot take them from the corridor instantly. R creates 3D polylines, so you can just mark them and copy them to your export file. So that is our feeling with slope patterns in the corridor itself.
Good. We of course have in the template that we have templates for slope patterns inside the corridor, but as Eric said, we have some troubles with them, so that's why we do them. If we're going to recommend something, we do them outside of the corridor. That I want to do. Good. Hopefully you know where to reach me or reach us. Otherwise, you can find our email addresses on symetri.com. And if there's any more questions, then please feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, thank you for today and thank you for listening. And have a nice continuation of the day.